Hello guys and welcome to Amaz's Arena Compendium, where this is your #1 source for all the arena analysis on which cards are great, which cards are good, which class is going to be the most insane, and that you want to play for 12 wins. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the Druid class once again. We have Crypt Lord, 3 mana, 1/6 taunt, and after you summon a minion, gain +1 health. I think this card is actually really bad in Arena because the butt is really big, but the attack is really small, right? Like, if you compare this to Tar Creeper is so much better because it has the 3 attack. Your opponent actually gets their stuff killed. And Crypt Lord doesn't actually get to trade with anything except for like silly 1/1s, right? So we're gonna rate this pretty bad. It's just probably gonna just be a 1-star card. You don't want to draft this in your deck. Next we have Gnash. For 3 mana, you give your hero +3 attack this turn and gain 3 armor. So it's actually literally just a 3 mana deal 3 damage, which is very important in killing stuff like Flappy Bird, you know, killing just killing important targets. And I think it's versatile enough that yeah, this is just a removal spell and it's gonna be fine. So this is a 3-star card. Next we have Web Weave. For 5 mana, you get to summon 2 1/2 poison spiders. Now in Arena, usually people want to curve out. And when you play Web Weave, your opponent might have to change up their strategy, right? Instead of playing like a 6-drop after you play this 5-drop, they might have to go like do something like a 2-drop and a 4-drop or something like that, right? Or if they don't have it, they might have to do like a 4-drop into hero power or something like that. That's most likely, right? And then you still get to keep a spider. So I think this is actually one of the very, very strong cards for Druid. It's like 2 deadly shots in 1. And if you have a lot of effects like Wrath and Swipe and stuff like that, you can actually remove their small minions, so the spiders actually kill the bigger minions. So I think this card is actually really insane. Alright, I think this is going to be a 4-star card. You actually do want to actively draft this. Druid of the Swarm, 2 mana, 1/2. You get to turn this into a poisonous spider, or you get to turn this into a Scarab, a 1/5 taunt, right? So once again, this card is very versatile. It's a 2-drop, and you do want a lot of those in Arena, and the fact that it can, you know, adapt to the current situation makes it really strong. So it's a 4-star card. You know, you just want 2-drops in Arena. Alright, so those are tokens. Next we have Strong Shell Scavenger. For 4 mana 2/3, you give your taunt minions +2/+2. And keep in mind, this is all your taunt minions, right? So if you activate this once, it is actually better than the Chillwind Yeti already, because not only is it 4/5 stats, one of those 2/2 stats actually gets charged, right? And then it gets even more ridiculous for more taunts. If you have 2 taunts or 3 taunts or whatever, right? Obviously, you would want this in, you know, decks that have more taunts, and Druids naturally have a lot of taunts. So I think this is actually completely fine. I think you don't want a lot of these. I think the first one is really good, and then the second and the third ones are really, really bad. So I would say this is like a 3-star card, but you really only want one, honestly, because it does not have taunt itself. Next, we have a Spreading Plague. For 5 mana, you get to summon a 1/5 taunt equal to the amount of minions that your opponent has. You can also just play this on an empty board and have a 1/5 taunt as well. This feels also pretty powerful in the sense that it's like kind of like an Unleash the Hounds. And against some matchups, this can be insane. So for example, if your opponent plays like Stand Against Darkness, right? The Paladin 5 dudes, and then you play this and you get 5 1/5s. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. There are some cases where this is really bad. So if you're playing against like Mage or Priest or something like that, like, you know, classes that don't play a lot of minions, then you know, this kind of gets wrecked. So this is kind of like the same card as the one previous before, that you don't want a lot of copies of this. So I think the first copy is really good. I'll give this 3 stars, and then you don't want the second or the third one. I think it's just like, you know, 1 copy is good enough. Alright, next thing we have Fate Spinner, 5 mana 5/3 with you secretly choose a Death Rattle, and then when it dies, you get to either deal 3 damage to all minions, or you give them all +2/+2, so including your opponent's minions, right? So this is one of those cards that are like aggressively statted. You want to trade this off so that you can actually get the effect off as well. I think if you have a low curve, you would want this, because you don't want this in a control deck, right? If you put this in a control deck, it literally just deals. Actually, in that case, if you put it in like more of a mid-range arena deck, it deals 3 damage to all minions, which is also pretty strong. The only problem with this card is that it dies to a 3/2, and it also dies to 3 attack weapons. But at the same time, it also removes the board along with it. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I don't think it's gonna be insane. And I think you actually choose the first mode more often than the second mode because board clears are insane in Arena. Okay, if you just choose the first mode, okay, you know what? Let's put this up to 4 stars. I think it's good. I think it's good enough. If you just look at the first mode, a 5-mana 5/3 Death Rattles into 3 damage is pretty decent. Yeah, I'll give this a 4 stars. Just ignore the second effect. I think I'm pretty sure the second effect was very rarely gonna come up. Ultimate Infestation. For 10 mana, deal 5, gain 5. Okay, you draw 5 cards and then summon a 5/5 ghoul. Fireline's Portal is one of the most busted cards. And this is just an improved Fireline's Portal. I don't look, I have no clue how your opponent is gonna come back when you actually cast this as a druid. Like, how do they beat 5 cards? You also get to stabilize and remove their threat, and then summon a 5/5 as well. Like, there's no way this is not 5 stars in Arena, right? Like, I think this is just auto pick. If you see this, you want to pick this, and this is like one of the best win conditions in Druid now. If anything, this card will make Druid actually playable in Arena. Next we have Hadronox, 9 mana 3/7 with Death Rattle. Summon your taunt minions that die this game as a beast as well. So this is a little awkward because, you know, how many taunt minions you get really depends on your draft, right? So if you draft this early on, then drafting a lot of taunts is actually pretty good, right? So if you see it early, it's good. If you see it like card 20 or something like that, and you only have 2 taunts, then it gets a little bit awkward, right? It does get a little awkward because then you have to like, it's not as good as you can get it. I think this is fine. I think if you have some really good taunts like Sparky, the 4/8, or if you got like the 6/10 taunt or ball creepers and stuff like that, then this card becomes really good. Because like a 9 mana 3/7 that Death Rattles into a 6/8, like a ball creeper, is perfectly playable, right? So I think that's fine. But I think the sooner you draft this, the more you can play around this. And this Hadronox also benefits from card draw. So when you have this card and a lot of taunts, you do want to prioritize some card draws if you can. Anyways, I think this is just a 3-star card. I don't think it's like insane or anything. But it really depends on the draft. Alright, and now we have Malfurion the Pestilent. This new hero card types do appear in Arena. And if you see a Death Knight in Arena, then congratulations. I think if you see a Death Knight in Arena, you're gonna be so happy, you're gonna pick it really highly. So what is this? So for Malfurion, you get to summon 2 Poison Spiders or 2 Scarab of Taunts for 1/5s. And then you change your hero power to deal 3 attack, or gain 3 armor, right? So this is completely bonkers. Changing a hero power to deal 3 damage, like some decks just do not beat that. And also the card when you play it is so powerful, right? Like 2 1/5 taunts stabilizes the board and lets you use your hero power more. Or if you're doing it an empty board, you probably want to choose the spiders so that your opponent has to either play stuff into the spiders or remove your spiders, and both cases are great. So I think Malfurion the Pestilent is an easy 5-star. I think you just take it when you see this. It's just so powerful. Alright, onwards to the Hunter cards. We have the first one, Play Dead. For 1 mana, you get to trigger a friendly minion's Death Rattle. So once again, this is one of the cards that only works if you have another Death Rattle card, which is going to be really difficult to do because, well, not only do you have to draw a lot of Death Rattles, because you don't want to just play this with 1 Death Rattle, right? Because it's 1 card. You also need the Death Rattle creatures to survive. So it's a lot of things, you know, combined into one that, you know, in a magical Christmas land, it's not even that good, right? Like, for sure, like if you play it on a high main, you get 2 2/2s for only 1 mana. But the times that this is dead, like Smuggler's Crate, it's gonna be so much that I don't think I want this in my Arena deck. So I'm gonna just give this a 1-star. I think this is pretty bad. Bear Shark is a 3 mana 4/3 beast with the Fairy Dragon hero power, Fairy Dragon power, right? Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. This is really strong. If you play it against some classes, they just can't remove this, right? It's just so backbreaking, and it is also like, pretty nuts in the sense that it's a beast. Right? Like 3 mana 4/3 can't be targeted would be a very strong card already. And on top of that, it's a beast. So I think you would want to draft this every time it comes out. So I'll give this 4 stars. Like, very strong card. Stitch Tracker is a 3 mana 2/2 with Battlecry, discover a copy of a minion in your deck. So this is ridiculous because you get to actually draw a card, and you get to draw a card with the power level of high, right? You get to choose one of the best cards in your deck and make another copy of it and put it in your hand. And the body of this is also pretty good. Like a 3-mana 2/2 is exactly like Cabal Courier. And now Hunters have Cabal Courier. If your deck has like anything remotely that costs 6 or more, this is gonna be worth it. So I think this is gonna be a super high pick. I think this is gonna be 4 stars. Like, super strong card. It does depend on your deck though, but if you're playing Hunter, you're probably gonna get some big creatures. Like, there's a lot of good beasts that are really, really fat. So yeah, I'll give this 4 stars. Venom Strike Trap is another type of snake trap. For 2 mana, it's a secret. When one of your minions is attacked, you summon a 2/3 poisonous cobra. Now this is a really, really powerful card because it effectively gives all your minions like a shield, right? Like, for example, if your opponent likes to trade, then you actually get a 2/3 poisonous cobra, and that is super relevant because like poisonous is a very annoying mechanic for your opponent to deal with, especially if they're playing on curve minions, right? And as a hunter, if your opponents don't deal with your cobra, you can keep on steady shotting them, or you can, just keep on applying pressure. So this is a pretty strong card. Snake Trap was really, really good. Snake Trap is like a 4-star card, right? So I think Venom Strike Trap is a little bit worse than Snake Trap, because Snake Trap you can actually, distribute the damage and whatnot, but I think this is still a really strong card. So I think I'll give you a 3-star. I think you should want these kind of effects. Alright, next we have Exploding Bloatbat. 4 mana 2/1 beast. Death Rattle casts Consecration on only your opponent's enemy minions, right? So this is pretty good also in stabilizing the board. Your opponent cannot ignore this, right? When you play this and your opponent has like 2/2/2s, then they probably have to sacrifice their board and then play more stuff, which means that it is effectively a board clear. So it's pretty reasonable, and you can also establish this on an empty board, and if you support it with like weapons and stuff like that, this becomes pretty strong too. So yeah, I'll give this 3 stars. I think this is pretty strong. You will want to pick this. For Corpse Widow, it's a 5 mana 4/6 with your Death Rattle cards cost 2 less. It's also a beast. So a 5 mana 4/6 is already really strong, right? And also gives you a little bit of an extra bonus. So I think this is just a really strong card. This is just 4 stars, right? Like a 5 mana 4/6, you would play it. And then if you randomly have more Death Rattles, you get to cast free Innervates. So yeah, I think this is just 4 stars. And then you draft this, you try and get some more Death Rattles, and then you'll be pretty happy. Toxic Arrow, 2 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion. If it survives, give it poisonous. So there's a duality effect here, right? If you can use it on your own minion, and then you can trade it with something bigger. So then, you kind of like 2-for-1ing yourself. But in a sense, Arena, you don't mind doing that, right? If you cast it on your own 2-drops, like 2 mana 2/3s, and you get to trade for like a Boulder Fist Ogre, you're actually pretty happy. Because 2 mana creatures in the late game are actually like pretty useless, right? The main problem of this card is that it doesn't go face, right? Arcane Shot is better than this because, well, if you're a hunter, you still want the option to go face because you just want to win the game, right? And at the same time, 2 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion. The front side, I don't think it's that good because it's like Grievous Bite. And Grievous Bite did not turn out to be that good as well. So yeah, I'm just going to rate Toxic Arrow like a 2. I think it's playable, and I think, it's going to work out. It's a good... It's like a card that's bad early game and gets better late game, right? So yeah, I think it's a 2. Abominable Bowman. So 7 mana, you get a 6/7. With Death Rattle, summon a random friendly beast that died this game. Okay, this is pretty nuts. Because you play this on turn 7, and then it's like a Boulder Fist Ogre, right? And then it might get you back like a 2/2 or 3/3 or stuff like that. This is a lot of value for a 7-drop. And if you actually have something like a tiger, like a Stranglethorn Tiger, or even a Panther, or Infested Wolf, or Highmane, this gets you that, like, that is actually going to be pretty ridiculous. I think this actually makes mid-range hunter a very big thing. Because the other way of using this is that you play it and then you go face. And then you go face. Your opponent needs to kill this 6/7, and then when they do, you still get something back. Like, that is actually ridiculous. Like, this card is actually insane. It's like high main levels of insane. So I'm gonna give this 5 stars. I think every time you see this, you want to pick this. The power level of this is so powerful. Like, it's so high. Death Rattle minions are so good in Hunter because your opponent has to deal with these creatures, and then if they do, you still get something back, right? So yeah, I'm okay with picking every single card of this pops out. I can compare this to what's that Paladin card that gives Divine Shield? Grime Street Protector, right? This is like Grime Street Protector power levels of power, right? So yeah, easy 5 stars. Next we have Professor Putricide. For 4 mana you get a 5/4. Okay, so that's fine. After you play a secret, put a random hunter secret into the battlefield. So usually you don't really want to play a lot of secrets in Arena, because you know they don't actively do anything. There's a lot of combos that you can do, right? With Professor Putricide, even if you don't have secrets, it's a 4 mana 5/4, which is fine. And I don't think the text is actually that relevant. So I'm just gonna give this a 3 star. I think you know, if you get an extra secret, it's not really insane to deal with. And then if you don't, it's also not bad. So it's just a normal card. 3 mana. That's just 3 stars. And then we have Deathstalker Rexar. For 6 mana, you get to deal 2 damage to all enemy minions, gain 5 armor, and then you change your steady shot to build a beast, which is you discover 2 beasts, you combine both their mana cost, attack, and health, and then make a new card. And basically it's 2 mana draw a card, right? This is also a very easy 5 stars because it's so relevant, right? The front side is insane. You deal 2 damage to all enemy minions, which should stabilize you. You gain 5 armor, which stabilizes you even more. And then every turn the game goes on, you get to draw an insane card. So like, yeah, how does your opponent actually get to outrace you in Valorant? Like, there's just no way, right? Because you naturally draw a card already every turn. So effectively you're drawing 2 cards, and then you're choosing from the best effects. You're not gonna pick some, you know, stupid Stone Touch Spore or something. Dude, even Stone Touch Spore is insane because it gets charged, and then you combine it with Savannah Highmane. So then you get a 7/6 Savannah Highmane of charge. Yeah, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, yeah, you're just gonna pick this when you see this, okay? This is 5 stars, very easy 5 stars. Onwards to Breath of Sindragosa. For Mage, it's a deal 2 damage to random enemy minion and freeze it. Alright, 1 mana deal 2 is insane already. And then you also get to freeze an enemy minion. That is really, really powerful. And also in Arena, there's a lot of stealth minions, right? So this can also target that too. So yeah, this is just ridiculous. Using 1 mana to kill a 3/2, like a 2-drop, is not only great, but you also get like a tempo lead. So this is good in all parts of the game. So this is an easy 5 stars. I think you just take this and be very, very happy with it. Cold Wraith is a 3 mana 3/4, which is already really good. So what's the downside? Well, it's not a downside. Battle Cry, if an enemy is frozen, draw a card. Okay, so really, really strong. It reminds me of Cabal Talon Priest, where it's a 3 mana 3/4 with an extra upside, right? I think the this effect, the draw a card, is actually going to pop up quite often because you have stuff like Frostbolt, you have stuff like Blizzard, Water Elemental, right? There's so many ways of freezing your opponent's board that drawing a card is not out of this like out of the ordinary, right? And I think this is completely fine to be played by itself. So yeah, this is an easy 4 stars, and yeah, this is great. This is a great card. You're gonna be very excited to like. Mage is gonna be even more powerful with Cold Wraith, right? So yeah, it's a good card. Frozen Clone is a 3 mana card, a secret, with after your opponent plays a minion, add 2 copies of it into your hand. So it's another type of Arcane Intellect. It's a little bit worse than Arcane Intellect because you're drawing your opponent's minions in a sense, but you're still drawing 2 copies of it. And there are some situations where, you know, your opponent can actually try and like, oh, play around Mirror Entity, and then they play like something like a 1/1, right, that discovers something, or draw cards. This basically always gets you value. So I think this is a very strong secret. It's never going to be bad. So yeah, I would want to give this. I think this is still worse than Arcane Intellect though. I mean, Arcane Intellect is like a 4-star card, but I think Frozen Clone might be a 4 as well. Oh, you know what? I'll just give this a 3. I think at the end of the day, it's still a secret, right? You don't get the cards immediately, which is actually a big downside. Yeah, I'll give this 3 stars. I think it's fine. Alright, next we have the 2 mana 1/3 Ice Walker with your hero power also freezes the target, which is also an elemental. Now this is actually super, super powerful because you actually get to lock down one of your opponent's biggest minions, and the opponent has to deal with this Ice Walker to free their minion, if any case. So in a sense, it's like a moat lurker, if you think about it, right? And then randomly, it also works against weapons. So yeah, this card is fine. think you want to pick this, and elemental synergies in Mage is a real thing, right? So yeah, I'll give this like man, I'll give this a 4 stars. But a caution for this card is that this is not a 2-drop, okay? You do not want this to play this on 2. So when you draft this, think of it as like a 4-drop or like a 6-drop, right? And then I think I think then you can see the power level of this card. Doomed Apprentice. It's a 3-mana 3/2 with your opponent's spells cost 1 more. So yeah, I don't really believe that this text is going to be coming up too often. I mean, half of the arena decks are just weapon classes anyways. So yeah, and you're also having a stat deficit. It's a 3-mana 3/2 and not a 3-mana 3/3 or 3/4. So yeah, I think this card is pretty trashy, and I don't think I want to have this. Like, sure, you can say like, okay, you mess up your paladins turn 6, so they don't spike Rich Steed. Or, you know, you mess up their removal turn, right? But yeah, this is a power level. This is pretty weak. It's a 3-drop that dies to a 2-drop. So yeah, I don't want this in my deck. 1 star. Ghastly Conjurer is a 4-mana 2/6 with add a mirror image spell to your hand. Now this card is really powerful because it makes combat miserable for your opponent, right? Like taunt minions in Arena are really, really powerful because they protect your stronger minions, right? Some stuff like Flappy Bird or like Demolisher even, right? Cards that have like recursive value really wants to be protected, and this is effectively giving that, right? Think about like if a card gives your Flappy Bird +2 health, it's really good, right? And Ghastly Conjurer does that. It also, the mirror image also combos with a lot of things, such like Frostwolf Warlord, like Direwolf Alpha, you know? And you know, if you're casting a spell, then it, you know, works on spell stuff like Red Mana Worm and normal Mana Worm, you know, lots of good stuff. So Ghastly Conjurer, I think it's going to be a very solid card. I'm going to give this a 4 stars. I think you actively want this in your deck. And it's also just randomly good because, you know, sets up Flame Strike, sets up Blizzard. There's a lot of setup for this card. I think this is a very fun card. Also a pretty high skill card, I think. Simulacrum is a 3-mana spell. Basically, put a copy of the lowest cost minion in your hand. And just copy it, right, basically. So for 3 mana, you get to play a Faceless, but you do not get to put it on the board, you copy it. So yeah, it's 3 mana, draw 1, and you also get to draw your strongest card in a sense, right? So for example, if you have even if you have something like a Blaze Caller, okay, you can use this on the Blaze Caller. You just play all your other minions first, and then use this to get another one. So in a sense, it's 3 mana, duplicate your strongest card. But even so, it's just 3 mana, draw 1, and it's just so slow. Like, it's so slow. I think if you have like a very busted legendary, like Izera or, you know, Antonidas, not even Antonidas, because Antonidas you don't even need this, right? So like, yeah, you have to have some very, very busted stuff for this to be good. And even then, I don't think it's that good. So I'm gonna give this like 1 star. I think this is a little bit overkill. Next, we have Glacial Mysteries. For 8 mana, you put 1 of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. So, first of all, you need to draft a lot of secrets for this to work, right? And secondly, you also need to not draw your secrets. And thirdly, you need to play against an opponent who is dumb enough to walk into all your secrets. So, like, what are you doing, right? This is 8 mana, 0/0 as well. Like as a minion, it doesn't really do anything. So this is a very easy 0 stars. You do not want to draft this in Arena because it's just so much setup cost. And even if you have a secret deck, it's the payoff is not good enough. So you don't even want this. This is just trash. On the flip side though, Syndragosa is one of the most nutsos legendaries, right? It's an 8 mana 8/8 dragon with battle cry, summon 2 0/1 frozen champions. And the frozen champions are 0/1s that when they die, you get to add a random legendary minion to your hand. So technically speaking, it's an 8 mana 8/8 that turns your hero power into life tap. And the life tap draws you a legendary card, which is like ridiculous. Okay, like how is this not ridiculous, right? If you are smart enough to make use of the 0/1s. So for example, if you taunt them up with Sun Fury Protector, if you Shattered Sun them or something like that, then even better because you don't need to ping these things off, right? So yeah, Syndragosa has an easy 5 stars. I think you just pick it if you see it, and you're gonna be very, very happy because it's an 8 mana 8/8 that draws you 2 cards, that draws you 2 legendaries even, right? How is that not insane? Pretty good win condition if you ask me. Alright, and finally we have Frostlich Jaina. It's the Death Knight hero card for Mage. It's a 9 mana with Battle Cry. Summon a 3/6 Water Elemental. Your elementals have lifesteal this game. You get 5 armor. And then you also improve your hero power into deal 1 damage. And if it kills something, you get a Water Elemental. Yeah. So at 9 mana, you're only playing a 3/6, which is a little bit sad. But you do gain 5 armor, and then all your elementals have lifesteal this game. I think the front side of Frostless Jaina is really bad for Arena, because at 9, you really don't want to be playing a 3/6, right? However, the main power comes from the hero power, right? Your opponent is just going to be at such a miserable board state, because every time they play a minion, they are scared of getting it icy touched. And as a mage, you can actually make it so that you can icy touch all minions. You have like stuff like Flame Strike, Firelance Portal, and stuff like that, right? It's very easy to make this work. And then this is just gonna be so backbreaking. Plus, you also don't get smoked down, because all your elementals get lifesteal now. So that if your opponent doesn't clear your minions and they just go face, well, they can't, because you're just gonna gain all the life back. So yeah, this is also a very easy 5 stars. Yeah, this is really insane. I think when you draft Frostless Jaina, you want to prioritize more removal, because the only way you lose after you play Frostless Jaina is you do get actually smoked down on like a board of 4 creatures or something, right? But yeah, as long as you keep your icy touches up and summon more lifesteal water elementals, or even play more elementals, you're just gonna win the game.